Hi, how are you? I think I'm finally figuring out the South. Um, the guys here are all like low key abusive. So if they're low key abusive, it will venture higher. Um, so yeah. Um, because out west, it's just not acceptable. I already made one video about this, and I might just have to like share that one, but it's getting real for me because I realize why women will cheat on their husbands and leave. And society, mainly men, are like, oh, how could she do this? I was doing everything for her. I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. Why would she leave me? Like, well, were you actually doing everything you were supposed to be doing, or were you doing the bare minimum and making it look like you're presenting the group project that somebody else did all the work for? Which is like what working with guys on the East Coast is. I haven't experienced this much on the West Coast. So it's a bit of culture shock for me. I had dated the father of my child before, and we split up because he's kind of an asshole. And I chalked it up to him being like an East Coast person. And it's like more than that. Like the East Coast, like, way of thinking about women is that, like, you wine them and dine them. You do whatever you got to do to, like, get one living in your house. And then once she's there, you don't have to do fucking anything. And that's what I see all these guys doing, you know. My roommate has an invitation to go hang out with his boss. I'm like, first of all, you don't go hang out with your boss, like, the first or second week. You decline that invitation. You say you have something else to do, because you're not going to be like so thirsty that you go link up with them the first time, because you don't want to look like a butt kisser. Even if you are a butt kisser, you don't want to like establish yourself that way. So I'm like, okay, strike one. He should have already said, oh no, we got something to do. But he's like, oh yeah, of course I'm gonna go. Why wouldn't I go? I'm like, oh God, he's one of those fucking guys. And it's just like so common. Like, guys on the West Coast are just so different. They're way more practical, tactical, thoughtful, logical, and they care about their partner. And any guy on the West Coast would be like, oh, wow, you've been home all week with the kid. It's been really cold. I know you're not from a colder climate, so this must be really hard for you. Why don't we go do something fun on the weekend? And not just one day of the weekend for a couple hours. Go do something actually fun on the weekend. The weekend is 2 days. And even 3 days if you count Friday. And with some people, they take Monday off. So it's just like, I know that there's a way to make time for people if you care about them. And guys out here, like, really don't care about the women that they're with. They just care about, like, having one. It's like an accessory. And women don't view men that way. And for years, men have, like, projected that on us, that, like, that's something we do. But men literally refer to women as trophy wives. I've never once heard a woman be like, yeah, he's my trophy husband. Like, you know, it's just like, men are really weird. And it's dangerous for women. Like, it's very, very dangerous for women. So I'm here just like, okay, I'm not from here. I don't know anyone. And over the course of however long I've been here, I've watched him socialize, him network, him make friends. And meanwhile, I'm like, I just want to get a part-time job. I just want to have a little bit of a social life. But he really thinks he has me cooked. That I just have to sit here with the kid, cleaning perpetually, not doing anything outside of, like, the dishes, the laundry. I mean, like, I would never, especially if you have bread, like, you can pay a maid to come and, like, knock out your dishes and throw in a load of laundry and help out around the house. Like, maids are, like, pretty affordable. Like, I don't mean to be, you know, I don't mean to be like that, but, like, I've seen how much that costs, you know, and if you have someone just come once a week to help you out in that way, it's not that much, and it really helps out. And then I think it helps guys realize, like, oh wow, I paid someone $25, so, you know, they stayed for 2 hours. I gave them $50 to do something that I could have done myself. Oh, okay, maybe I should help out more. Oh, maybe the work that she's doing is valuable. And like, it's so dumb, but like, men do have these epiphanies every day. I see them every day. I interact with men every day who I know 5 years ago, even a year ago, even yesterday, they might not have been great partners. So I know the power of like discussion and conversation and like trying to kind of like be affable about something. I'm not trying to roast anyone, like especially most guys. Most women will just chase around guys to like clean up after them. It's so unsettling. Like, you know, I've worked in hospitality for a long time. So you see people at parties and how they act with their sons, and it's just this universal thing where like men are really helpless and they don't know how to do anything. And it's just acceptable, you know? And then, you know, when you think about dating a guy and coming to find out like, oh, this guy has represented himself as being so capable, he knows how to do all these things, and then you live with him and you come to find out that he really doesn't know how to do anything, and he's going to be leaning on you heavily for everything. And you know, his funny personality or his witty conversation, it's just always going to be directed at you and you alone. He's not ever, you know, it's just it's I can see a lot of other relationships have a similar dynamic where guys think they're being funny and then they just end up being super critical of their partner, and then the woman is just home. You know, she doesn't really have anyone else to interact with, because it happens so easily when you have kids. You kind of just get in the zone of doing things with your kid, and if your partner's not like, hey, you need to go do something fun with your friends. Like, I'm with someone that really doesn't care about my needs. All he seems to worry about are his needs, and he sees me as a robot. And when I don't behave like a robot, he gets really upset. And again, I think a lot of modern relationships are like this. I've known this guy long enough. He didn't act this way when I first met him. If he ever misbehaved, he would apologize. But the red flags for me, looking back, I'm like, oh, he would do something fucked up and then he would like pay me for it. So he's kind of teaching me, I'm going to do this behavior, but I'm going to pay for it. So it's okay. And I let him think that it was okay. Because rather than me just leaving the first time that he did something really weird, his idea of like making an effort was just spending money, not making any kind of a change to his behavior or the way he interacted with me. So yesterday I kind of had a like, ooh, you know, a line in the sand moment. And I've been waiting for it, you know. I'm like, it's weird to break up with someone because they have really poor hygiene, or they like to keep their room really messy. You know, and that's been my biggest issue, is that he just doesn't feel like he needs to pick up after himself or pick up after anyone else. And that's someone else's job. And that's just like not a mentality you can have as a grown-up in a relationship with another grown-up. I don't get it. I don't relate. I don't, like, none of it makes any sense. So, yeah. And then just kind of being forced to accept that, or be a single mom. And it's like, well, I see what happens when one person does too much work. There's enough work to go around that if everyone does a little every day, it's not that much. And I'm not saying everyone, I'm talking about like, you know, you and your boyfriend. Because that's it. Like, I think sometimes abusive guys will have kids and then they're like, oh, the kids can help out. The kids can do this or that. It's like, bro, like, no, this is still just like your responsibilities. The kids don't have any responsibilities yet. They're children. These are your things that you should be able to manage in your day without tapping other people in. How old are you again? Like, there just seems to be no shame, and then no accountability. If a guy gets mad, it is pretty reasonable to assume that he might kill you. So for most women, it's like, okay, just don't say anything. But then you're raising your kids to think that anything about the situation is okay when it's like so far from it on the West Coast. Like, this just doesn't happen. And if it does, like, the couples just split up, you know, like, if there's not an equal distribution of work, then we don't need to live together. I don't need to be your maid. That's not like what life is all about. If a guy really thinks, and that's something that is so common on the East Coast, like, it's like, saying it out loud, like, I can just feel, like, guys here being like, what? Are you crazy? And on the West Coast, that is just, like, regular. Like, everyone has to help out. Everyone has chores. Because you might not always have a partner. You might, you know, you're going to have to learn to do things yourself. I just don't understand the slavery mentality that so many people have here, where it's just like, yeah, just put someone under you and then make them dependent on you and then make them do your work. Like, ew, like, you think that's gonna work? Like, you don't think that they're gonna cheat on you and try to leave you at the first opportunity they can? Because that's not a relationship. That's like indentured servitude. You know, so yeah, it's really hard to focus on like any of the positives of the situation when there's so many negatives. And I'm very able to see like, oh wow, I have basically nothing going for me here. This isn't my dream. This isn't what I want. I never fucking thought about this, living here and doing this even once before coming and moving here and having my kid. And I don't like it, and I don't have to keep living here. So I'm just like at this place where it's like I communicated how I feel. He knows that I don't like it and want it. And then now there's all this pressure of like, oh, the job. I got to keep this job. It's like, okay, you know what? I don't want to get in the way of that. I just have to get out of the way and move away, because I'm not willing to play house and not have any of the benefits of being in the house. I'm not working. I don't have, I have good insurance. Like, I'm bringing a pretty fair amount of things to the table that are just kind of overlooked. And he's not. You have to build credit. You have to be, at least a somewhat good roommate to live with. Because if a guy just makes messes all the time, that ultimately just makes more work for you. And it's just been years of him being messy and saying like, oh, I'm going to get better. Tomorrow's the day. I'm going to change. I'll have to change. I'll show you. And then that idea being like unenforced by his peers, like, no, you don't have to help out. I don't do anything around the house and I still get this and that and the other done. And it's just like, I just don't, if that works for some guys, great. But there's no way that I think that they should be encouraging other guys to just like do nothing and have no skills and be useless. That's not what things are like on the West Coast. It's all about like self-improvement and like getting better every day and trying to, improve your community, not just yourself. And most guys just seem totally content to just like, okay, I'm just going to worry about me. And it's really gross. I don't see anything attractive or appealing about it. Guys wouldn't want to date women that were like that, or maybe they do. They just want to date people that are into them. So they go for really good people. So it's just a pickle. It's a really like fucked up thing that I see. Because then of course, once you are saying you're going to leave, a guy's going to like threaten to kill you, or he's going to like turn on the, the waterworks. Oh, I'm going to do this. Let me do that. I'll book a vacation. I'll do this. I'll do anything other than wash the fucking dishes, take out the fucking trash without being asked. Like, let somebody else sleep in for a change. Let somebody else, when you say, oh, I don't care what we have for dinner, then shut the hell up and let the person that does care decide and make what they want to make. Because that's my biggest pet peeve. It's like, oh, I don't care what we eat. Okay, I'm going to make anything I want. Oh, I don't want that. And then he really stands by it. He wasn't raised to like just eat the food and be polite. He thinks he's just going to go out and get a different meal. And I don't want to raise my kid like that. So I have all these big questions. I'm like, okay, am I going to raise a brat? Or am I going to try to raise a functional human being? Guys can get away with being useless. Girls can't. And that's just a fucking fact. People can say whatever they want about it. But it's exceptional for guys to go above and beyond. And you know it. Most guys don't try that fucking hard. And they make a big stink if they do anything, like, aside from brushing their teeth and, wiping their own ass. They really let you know. They're like, oh, wow, thank you. You took out the trash. You did 0.5% of the work that goes into the house looking like people live here. That's so cool. So yeah, I've got someone screaming at me. It is 12:20 on a Sunday, and every weekend I'm like, oh, I hope we're gonna go do something fun. I hope he's up early. I hope he makes breakfast. I hope he does fucking anything other than just sit there and talk to me about football. Or how something that I cleaned isn't clean enough. You missed a spot. It just makes you just want to... I'm like, okay, is this really worth it? No. Because he doesn't ever do anything. He wants praise. I do everything, and he's like, you could do better. You can fuck off. You can live alone. How about that?